And we are live. It's your boy, Darnold Jr., your favorite insurance agent. And this is FinLit Live. Today, we're going to have a little bit different format. So, we're just going to have a conversation to see what areas you would like to grow in your personal finances. Because this is the show where we get educated about how money works. Because growing up, they didn't teach us how money works. And so, what I typically do is bring guests on the show. So, tonight, we don't have a guest. So, I just want to have a conversation with you. So if you have any comments, how about you put in the chat where you're from, where you're tuning in from, and let's just talk. So let's go ahead and get lit. All right, so we already have a couple of guests that jumped on, so we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let me know who's on right now, and so we can get a conversation. Who's on and where you're from? Type in the comment section. So while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and put up my banners. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and go to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube show because my goal is to get up to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And so we're 40% of the way there. And there's a lot of people that are watching that haven't subscribed. So go ahead and smash that subscribe button and let's get started. So put hashtag live if you are watching live. If you are watching the replay, put in the chat hashtag replay. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. So let's just talk. Let's have a conversation. The thing is, personal finances is a subject that, like I said, I never was taught when I was growing up. The best that I've seen when I was growing up, my mom actually gave me a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Highly, highly, highly recommend that book if you haven't read it already, because it'll teach you the mindset behind money and what you should focus on. So it's great because it helps shape a lot of the philosophy I have towards money personally. And if I could run part of the book for you, one of the things that he teaches in the book is the difference between active income and passive income. Active income and passive income. So active income is where you actively have to work for the money. So it's a job. You either get salary or get paid wages, and that's active income where you physically have to be there to make the money. And passive income is where you don't have to physically be there to make money. So it could be stocks, it could be real estate, it could be investments, it could be cryptocurrencies, anything where you don't have to physically be there to make money. And so that's what the truly wealthy do is they focus on building passive streams of income. And what Robert talks about in the book is if your passive income is equal to or greater than your active income, guess what? You could fire your boss, right? Because you're going to have that money rolling in whether you're working or not. So whether you're here, there, or anywhere, guess what? You're going to be making that money. And so that's what passive streams of income is. And if you focus on building passive streams of income, that's how you earn your time of freedom back. So a lot of people work for money, but what the wealthy do is have their money work for them. And so let's see. Okay, so we got our first comment in the chat. It's my dad. I know it looks weird because we have the same name, but he says, "What are you investing in?" So that's a great question. Some of the investments I have, one of the biggest things I'm doing, I mean, I do have some investments in cryptocurrency, but the biggest investment you can make is in yourself. Like I'm very, very active in personal development and how to build your character, how to build your skill set, because you're always going to have you no matter where you go, right? And so what I realize is the more I know I don't know, right? So it's a constant learning and growing thing. I just discovered this guy. He's really encouraging people that a lot of times people don't want to do the things they want to do because there's like three levels of discipline. So obviously, one of the things of discipline is a lot of times people, discipline is doing what you know you need to do even when you don't feel like it. So there's actually a deeper level to discipline that the people that have the X factors, like the Elon Musk's, the Kobe Bryant's, the people that really have excelled in their craft or in their business, they have a truly X factor. And that X factor is they actually enjoy the grind. So imagine loving the things that most people don't love to do. And so if you actually love the things most people don't like to do, then guess what? Every day you go to work, it's a pleasure. You look forward to it. Like Elon Musk, he was saying that he was literally working 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. And guess what? He wasn't doing it for the big houses. He actually sold all his houses. And the reason he's doing it is because he's very passionate about it. They always say you never work a day in your life if you love what you do. But guess what? You could learn to love the things that most people find to be a grind and to be an issue. So, great question. I appreciate you, Dad, for tuning in. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type in the chat. I think we have my beautiful wife on, and then she put hashtag live. So thank you, wife, for tuning in. Thank you, Jessica. So that's awesome. But if you have any other questions, go ahead and type in the chat. So one of the things I encourage people to do, as far as investing is concerned, is to look at an index fund, because a lot of times stocks, they go up or down. But the thing about index funds is it diversifies your investment automatically, just because what the purpose of index funds is, they picked a sector where they spread the wealth among a whole bunch of different companies. So if one company succeeds or one company fails, it's not going to really tank the stock because it's diversified amongst a whole bunch of different companies. And that's one of the things that the guys at what's his name? I'm blanking on his name, but basically he talks about index funds is where out more times than not it outdoes the market. And one of the index funds I personally like, this isn't personal finance advice for you, but this is what I personally do, is invest in a stock called QQQ. Because QQQ, what it does is this index fund for the NASDAQ. And technology is here to stay, guys. Like, it's not going anywhere. Like, Google knows more about me than I know about me, right? Because they track everything we do. And they're a big tech company, obviously. So is the Facebooks and the YouTubes and everything else that's out there. And so technology, one of the big things that's been hot topics is Chat GDP, GPT, that's going on right now. It's a new company that just started up where you can literally type anything in the chat, and it's going to spit out like a script for you. It's going to answer any question. Basically, it's artificial intelligence. And that's my encouragement for people. Like, please get a career that artificial intelligence isn't going to take over. Because historically, people thought, oh, if I'm in a creative field, then computers can't take over it. Guess what? There's literally websites right now for free where you can literally type in, I want a picture of a monkey on a bicycle. And it's literally going to print a picture of a monkey on a bicycle for you. And you can pick and choose which one you like the most. And you can have it modify it however you need. And it's the same now for reports and for scripts and everything else. So my encouragement for you in the way this world is going right now, don't have a career where computers could take over, because ready or not, artificial intelligence is here, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to take over fast food restaurants. Like, you're literally going to be able to go to a fast food restaurant, put in an order, and it's going to automatically do it for you without any humans involved. Wow. It's going to take over, obviously, creative stuff. So, all right, so we got another comment. Says, do you have any recommendations on how to find a trustworthy CPA company organization for taxes since it's tax seasons? What red flags should we look for out for? So, like I said, I'm not the expert at everything. I stay in my lane. Insurance is my expertise. So if you have any insurance questions, but as far as like trustworthy CPAs, the best way to get anybody trustworthy in any financial arena really is through referrals. Referrals. You have to talk to other people that actually experience that person to see if they're trustworthy, to see if they've helped them with their business or their organization. Because yeah, it is tax season. Tax season is around the corner. The W-9s are about to start coming out. And so you have to find somebody that's trustworthy. So going with a lot of the reputable companies like the HRL Blacks, the TurboTax people, they're pretty reputable where you could do it yourself on the computer. So that's the key, is just finding somebody that's actually experienced that tax professional, because I know a handful of tax professionals in the back of my mind. Like, I have a friend that does taxes. One of my cousins does taxes. Like, I'm surrounded by tax people right now, which is great. But just finding somebody that you could trust and that you're willing to open up your finances to, because when it comes to money, people act funny sometimes. So what red flags should you look out for? I think the red flags are if you have a specific niche of a business or of an entity. For instance, if you have a nonprofit, go to somebody that actually specializes in nonprofit taxes, because there's certain codes and things that they have to be aware of. There's certain deductions that nonprofits can have or not have that they may be aware of that a typical tax professional may not have, because there are people that specialize in different types of taxes. Actually, my former job before I worked for this insurance company is I work for an accountant. And so to see the behind the scenes of what accountants do, like I have mad respect for everybody that does accounting and tax keeping and bookkeeping, because it is a crazy job. So, all right, so we have another question. If you have any questions, type it in the chat. We're just talking tonight. We're just having fun, just hanging out. Like I said, I'm not the expert at everything. That's why I have the show, so I could bring the experts on and get my questions answered and hopefully get your questions answered too. But today, once again, it looks weird. It looks like my name, but it's my dad. So, how much life insurance do you need? So, that is a great question. Obviously, everybody's situation is a little bit different. So, there's different models out there that'll help you determine how much insurance you need. Some people do it based on how much income you bring in. So, let's say you bring in $100,000 a year and you're the breadwinner of the family, and if you pass away, you want to make sure your family's taken care of for 7 years. So obviously that's simple math. You take the 100,000 and multiply it times seven. So $700,000 in life insurance would be a good number for you. Other people just want a policy that will just help them bury their loved ones, where they don't have to stress out over the funeral, caskets, etc. And so if that's the case, you could get a simple policy. The average funeral right now is anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000. So if you have a $20,000 to $30,000 policy, that'll be more than sufficient to cover the average funeral right now. If you do cremation, I think the average cremation is anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 right now. So just do it accordingly. And other people, they want a mortgage protection insurance, life insurance. So what that means is if they die and their mortgage isn't paid off yet, that mortgage protection insurance will help pay the remainder of the balance of their house. That way, their loved ones won't have to stress out over the mortgage and paying um, all the extra costs associated with owning a home. So, if that's the case, you could buy a life policy that's literally the same value of your mortgage. And the nice part about mortgage protection is you could do it for the term of your mortgage. So, like, let's say you have a 30-year fixed mortgage, and you could buy a of not a fixed, not a whole life, but a term policy for the 30 years. And so if it is a term policy, then once that mortgage expires, then your life insurance expires because it did its job to protect that mortgage. And so one of the things like I want you to be conscious of when it comes to life insurance is there's actually two main types of life insurance. You have your term and your whole life. And there's actually other types of life insurance underneath both of those umbrellas. But those are the two main ones. And the term policy is just that, it's short term. So you have a 5-year term, 10-year term, 20-year term, 30-year term, whatever your term is that you determine that you think is sufficient for your life. And usually if people have life insurance through the job, the term is as long as you're working there. Because guess what? When you leave, you lose it, right? And so the reality is with term policies, only 3 to 6% of people that own a term policy actually use it. Like they actually pass away during the term. So guess who wins? Yeah, the most people think, yeah, the insurance company wins. But guess what? You win too, because guess what? You lived, right? So the reality is, since only 3 to 6% of people use the term policy, guess what happens to the premium? They're usually a lot lower, right? They're usually more affordable. You can find really affordable terms, premiums for a large amount of insurance. But the reality is they all expire because it is a term policy. So whole life is exactly like the name implies. It's your entire life, right? And how many people die? Yeah, everybody dies, right? So guess what? Everybody's going to use their whole life policy. So guess what happens to the premium? They're a lot higher. But guess what? You're covered from your life for the rest of your life. And usually, if you live to 100, they actually give you the face value, like if it's a 50,000, 100,000, $1 million policy at age 100. So it's like a celebration of life. It's like you made it to 100. Here's your money. I don't know how much you could do with it at the age 100, but you could still have it in savings for the inevitable. So the thing is, whatever your needs are, that's what you sit down with the insurance agent like myself, where you could determine what makes the most sense for you and your family, what premiums make the most sense, what face amount. They usually have different riders on insurances. Like for instance, on ours, we have a whole life policy that has a accidental death rider. And what that means is it doubles the face value if you die because of an accident. And because the reality is, people 44 and under, the number one cause of death is accidents. And so to have that accidental death rider, especially if you have kids in the house, if you still have a mortgage, it might make sense to double the face value because of that. So definitely get with a licensed insurance agent and discuss your needs. And that way you can know exactly what makes the most sense for you. So good question. So today, if you're just tuning in, we're just having a chat. We're just conversating, whatever you guys like to talk about. My question for you guys is, what are some of the things you would like to see on the show in the future? Like, who are some of the guests you would like to have on the show? What type of questions do you have about personal finances? It could be anywhere from credit score to how a mortgage works to how do I invest? Like just practical tips on investing, because there's a lot of great apps out there. There's a lot of great websites and resources out there now where you could do everything from your phone, from your house, which is great. And so one of the things I encourage people to do too is network, network, network. Your network is your net worth, because once you know a lot of people, guess what? They could connect you with other people. And there's a lot of great resources out there, a lot of great people, a lot of great knowledge, a lot of great skill sets that are out there. But if you're not out there networking and meeting people, so most of the guests I have on the show, I actually get from networking. Like I meet them when I'm going to different events, like my local chamber. Um, because I joined the local chamber, I got introduced to other networking events and it just spiraled out. So I've been able to meet a lot of phenomenal people. And so I'm able to bring them as a guest on the show to get your questions answered about whatever personal finances you guys have. And there's a lot of great, amazing people, a lot of great, amazing knowledge, because guess what? If we share the knowledge with each other, that improves our competence about how money works. And guess what? The government doesn't have control because we're that much more in control of our personal finances. So this is a little bit different of a format. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And we're talking about you. Like, what would you like to see on the show? Where would you? What type of guests? We have a full lineup. We're booked all the way through March as far as guests are concerned. So super excited about the direction of the show and what we have going on. So I hope you guys like my studio here. Got the different lights, different colors. So, and if you haven't tuned in before and if you haven't subscribed, definitely go to YouTube, press that subscription button. I appreciate it. So we're trying to get up to 1,000 likes by the end of the year. So this is about financial literacy. We got to educate us ourselves on how money works. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. So we're going to keep it nice, short, and brief. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And if you don't have any more comments or questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and stay tuned for next week because we do have a phenomenal guest lined up. So I appreciate you guys for getting lit.